Conversations. This is Kevin.
This is TC.
Man, what's been going on, man? It's been a pretty busy week in gaming.
Yeah, definitely. Like we got a quick glimpse at Silk Song. No release date yet, but I'm hoping that's gonna come out this year. I just beat Hollow Knight, so I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah, it's been taking forever to come out. Like how long has that been in development for? Like 4 or 5 years?
Something like that, like 3-4 years at least. But like I'd rather them take their time than rush and it come out bad.
I wonder if it's like, are they having development issues or more so just wanting to make like a perfect product?
It's probably a little bit both.
Mhm.
Like I think I know a lot of people bring this up all the time, but like the pandemic, right? Like when that
Yeah,
first was going on, and then people were like, "Oh, we're working from home." Like, how many people have that type of equipment that they need to work from home? Like,
yeah,
voice actors had to do voiceovers in their closet to have room. You know what I mean? Like, it's
yeah.
so many accommodations that come into play. So, uh, yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I think I'm glad they're taking their time though, not just like rushing it out. I think they're having issues like topping the first game. That's the problem. Like the first one was good, it was
It's really
long.
good. It had a ton of DLC too.
Yeah. Like what
Yeah,
can you really do to improve on that? Like, you know what I mean?
yeah. And then I heard, I could be wrong, but I heard that Silk Song was supposed to be DLC for Hollow Knight originally.
Oh
And
wow.
then I think it got so big that they said we might as well just make another game.
Yeah.
And I think when you become that ambitious, like
Mm.
you know, I I've been there where I'll be working on a project, and then like that one thing that I want to work on becomes, oh, I can also do this. It'd be cool if I also do this.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if I also do that. You just keep adding on more and more and more to that project, and it becomes this grand thing. Like I can't imagine what it's like to have a team of developers like that. Like, oh, it'd be cool if we could add this, and it'd be cool if we could add that. Look at
Yeah,
Cyberpunk.
it kind of happens like that in like just everyday coding too. Like your company, they keep on slamming in new features and
Yeah.
bigger and
Yep.
bigger and bigger, and it gets so
Hmm.
complicated. Like, oh, nobody understands the code base anymore. So
Yeah. Like what were we originally trying to do?
exactly, man. You know what's another thing that they announced Dragon Dogma 2.
Yeah, I didn't play the first one. I don't understand the hype behind that. Is it a good game? I don't.
I played it like for 10 minutes. I heard it was good, but
Yeah,
it's on sale, so
it's on sale. The first one.
on Xbox at least,
Let me
maybe
see.
I don't know why I never got into it. It's just like a game that I got like hundreds of games on my Steam library.
It's $5 on Steam.
Yeah, why not get it
I
and
can't
try
go
it
wrong
out?
with for $5. I can't go
Yeah,
wrong.
gaming is so cheap now.
Yeah, on PC especially.
Oh yeah,
4K support. This is like
It's-
an Xbox game, right? 360 game.
yeah. It came out way back like on PS3 and 360.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I could tell all the brown.
Yeah,
Like back then when all
Valid
the
back
every color was brown.
then. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Like I wonder why they did that. Like
I don't know. But it was just it was the thing back then.
I might try to play a little bit tonight and see if it hooks me. But, I've
Yeah,
been
we'll
more
see.
so into like Mega Man Z. Have you ever played that?
I a little bit, but I never like actually. Did I play the first one? The ZX series, right?
I know they got Z and then ZX.
Mega Man
I think
Z.
Z was the ones like on the Game Boy Advance and all of that. Let me see. What
Oh yeah. That one. I tried playing that for a little bit, but
it's kind of
um,
hard.
it is. It is. I don't know what's up with that. I guess that's just the that's just that series.
Yeah,
I
it's
still
just
haven't
like
beat Mega Man 8 yet.
yeah. I got to the last boss on there, but then I just stopped playing because, like, if you cut it off, then you have to start at
Start
Wiley's
all over.
Castle. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's tough, especially back in the day when you didn't have a memory card, but you still want to keep the progress. So you keep the game running all
yeah,
day. Yup.
man.
Oh man.
So much more convenient now.
Yep. Cloud saves and everything else. You don't got to worry about copying save files over. None of that.
Oh yeah.
It's so easy. But
And yeah, what
I
do you
beat
think about
Sleeping
Final
Dogs.
Fantasy remake?
Hmm.
No, go ahead. What was you saying?
No, I was gonna say I beat Sleeping Dogs recently, and
Oh,
that was cool.
that
Um,
was it like after you beat it, was you like, man, it's a great game, or like, yeah,
um, it was. I wouldn't say it was great. It was definitely a game that because I bought it on sale. Like for what I paid for, I felt like I got a good deal. Like
okay.
I
Would
felt
you pay?
like I wouldn't have bought it for $60.
Yeah,
Like I 25 bucks is cool. Um, other than that, overall it was a good game. Like it was what I expected. Right, I expected like
Mhm.
a GTA clone, and I got a GTA clone, and
Right.
it was a cool game.
I think the best GTA style game I played is probably Mafia 2, aside from GTA. That was
Yeah, I
good.
played Mafia 1 on the PlayStation 2 way back when, and I know you keep telling me about them, and I just haven't picked it up yet.
Yeah,
Like
I think
eventually I
2 is a
will.
lot better. Like 2 is like really good.
Yeah, yeah. Eventually I'm gonna pick them up. I just haven't.
Yeah,
I just haven't.
haven't
I
got
think the
to it.
the latest game I picked up was Shredder's Revenge TMNT. It's fun. You get what you pay for. It's a you run around, you beat up enemies.
Yeah, it looks like it was made by the people that made Scott Pilgrim. Have you played that?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
looks
love
kind
that
of
one.
similar.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah,
You can
all the
kind of see
sprite.
it now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All the sprite work, all of the taunts, all the enemies, everything. Yeah, that all makes sense now.
I
Yeah,
might get it, man. Did you say it got like cross play on PC and Xbox?
yeah. So I can't confirm that, but I know that when you load up the game and when you load up the game first and you create like a party, they have like little symbols next to the people's names and stuff like of like parties that you could join. And like Epic Game Store is one, and I read somewhere that you could do crossplay between Xbox and PC,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't confirm that.
Okay, yeah, I'll check. I'll look into that. Like, does your characters level up and all of that, or is it more so just like
Yeah, no. So your
strictly?
characters level up, but if you like, let's say you pick Leo and you
Yeah.
level up, like Leo's the only one that gets those levels. If you picked Mikey or Donatello, they start at level 0, like wherever you start off at. So yeah, you got to be careful
Okay.
about the levels. Like I think it forces you to play to replay the game using other characters, like to go through each time.
Hmm. Oh wow.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's a fun game, and like you can team up with like I think 6 people,
Hmm.
and it's just madness. Like I
Yeah.
could barely tell what's going on half the time, but it's fun.
Yeah. It seems like get hectic with like 6 people on the screen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm glad you can't hate each other because like I hated that about Streets of Rage, where
Oh yeah.
like you can use your power move and like hit
Yeah.
your partner. Like I used to play that game with my uncle, and he always used to like just hate it. Like, man, you keep hitting me with that power move. Like I'm
Yeah.
dying. I'm like, oh man, I'm not, I don't mean to hit you, but yeah. So
I
I'm kind
think
of glad
Streets
they
of
don't have
Rage
that.
2 is probably the best like side scroll like beat 'em up that I played.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
Have
Did
you
I
played
play
4?
who?
Part 4, Streets of Rage 4?
I haven't yet. I haven't yet. No. Like I think I've seen it. I just haven't played it. Um, it didn't interest me to like go out and get it. It wasn't
Yeah.
something that I just wanted to like immediately go out and get. I think like TMNT like the nostalgia behind it. I
Mm,
like the Ninja Turtles, so I was like, okay, I'm interested in getting this game. Like Streets of
well,
Rage 4 was like, oh wow, they made a fourth one. Okay, that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, Ninja Turtles at least kept like the old school look. The new one kind of got a
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but it just looks like different. It doesn't have like a pixel art.
What
It's
you mean,
like
the Streets of Rage?
yeah, Streets of Rage 4 is like some kind of like I forgot what kind of art style it is, but
Was that 2.5D, right?
yeah, yeah. It looks kind of like
Yeah.
Monster Boy. I don't know if you ever played that or you know what I'm talking about.
Monster Boy?
Yeah, yeah. Take a look at that real quick, and you'll kind of got like a painting type of look.
Hmm. This was like Maple Story.
You said Maple Story.
This was like Maple Story.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah. It's like
see what I'm talking about.
super animated and like high super detailed, like bright colors and I see
Hmm.
it.
It looks like a
Yeah.
painting of like a cartoon kind of.
Yeah. Yep. I see it.
Yeah, that's what the Streets of Rage 4 kind of reminds me of. But
It looks good.
oh yeah, that was a great game.
This is a platformer.
Yes, yeah, it's kind of like a Metroidvania.
Mm.
Probably one of the better ones I played. What do you think about the Final Fantasy VII remake? And I know they're doing Crisis Core as well.
I'm interested. I'm interested in the Final Fantasy VII Remake Part Two, or Rebirth, I guess you could say. Uh, like I'm interested in Rebirth. I just oh, what was that?
Hey,
Yeah,
Sean popped in.
Sean, how's it going, man?
see you,
Hey,
man.
man. How you doing?
Oh wait, hold up.
Not bad, man. Good to see you on.
Good to
Okay,
be on. It's been a while in the making.
Glad you can finally catch us.
Hey, Terrence. Good to meet you.
how's it going, bro? Wait,
Pretty
hold
good.
up. Having some audio issues.
Is
All right,
it
hello?
me?
I don't know. I think that might be me. All right.
You can't hear us.
I hear you.
Okay. How about now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, awesome. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, we're just having a little gaming
Is that
discussion prior to you jumping on.
Wait, hold
What
up.
game?
Final Fantasy is one of them. They're making a remake of Seven. On the second part now. Are you much into games or not too much?
I am. I just got done playing Horizon Forbidden West.
Oh yeah. How do you like it?
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good game. It's I'm on my second run through.
How'd you end up getting a PS5?
I didn't. It's on PS4.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Does anybody have a PS5?
I have one. I
You
got
have
one for
one?
my nephew. Yeah, but
Okay.
I'm not gonna admit the price. But yeah, I got one.
I
Yeah,
won,
it's
I won the
tough,
Sony
man.
lottery, but I just didn't get it, and I could never get it since. Like if you want to get it, sometimes like you have to, they randomly select you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I won it one time, but can't,
you can bite the
can't.
bullet. Yeah, I
But
don't
yeah,
see the point.
we were talking about mentorship, man. I know you had like a pretty interesting mentorship experience, and same with me.
Yeah, so every now and again I see people on LinkedIn or somewhere, and they'll be like, after a year I haven't got my first job, so like they kind of complain or put it out there. So I'll offer to mentor and say, hey, I could help, but no one has ever taken it up yet.
Yeah, I offered too. I thought people would jump on the opportunity, like, hey, this guy is high up in the industry. Let me see what he has to say.
I get a lot of people that feel like they don't deserve it though. They'll say
Mhm.
stuff like I don't deserve it or you're so experienced, I don't want to waste your time. Stuff
Okay,
like
yeah,
that. But it's like not wasting it.
Yeah.
Then I get people that pay, and I've never
Oh,
had a
wow.
problem with those.
Yeah, yeah. If they pay, they're gonna show up. Like, how did you get like paid clients, or was it something like they just offered to do?
So a lot of it was word of mouth and referrals. I taught
Mhm.
at different coding schools like Hack Reactor, Learning Fuse, General Assembly, and so on. And so through them, they would refer friends or family, and then like I never advertised.
Oh, okay. Didn't you do some teaching terrence at UCLA, teaching React?
Yeah, that was way back when. 2019, 18, end of 18, early 19. Yeah, I did teach some React at UCLA. That was a lot of fun. Some people got it, some people didn't get it, but I think the people that really like stuck with it, like fish out of water, like a fish in water, like I've seen them just fly, and it's really nice to like to see that light bulb in their head go off. I'm like, oh, I got it. Like
Yeah.
when they stop asking you questions and they come up with stuff like that just you've never thought of. It's amazing to really see that. So
Mhm.
it was a nice experience.
So tell me if y'all agree with this statement. People that are self-motivated, they usually end up getting it. Like, they usually are good mentees if they're more self-motivated.
Yeah, I agree because I think after a certain point you need to be able to. It's like riding a bike. Like you can't be on training wheels forever. Like you have to
Yeah.
be able to like get off of that get off of level one and like start to excel. Like it's okay to ask for assistance and to be humble enough to come to your mentor or somebody with more experience, right? But if you keep making the same mistakes over and over again and it doesn't look like you're learning,
Yeah.
then that's a red flag. I'm speaking from experience. I personally do that all the time. I'll constantly
Mhm.
make PRs, and they're just like, "Bruh, stop doing this. You always do this." And I'm just like, "Oh, sorry. I'll learn next time." Next time I make a PR, and it's like 2 weeks ago you said you would stop doing this. Stop doing
Yeah.
this.
So it's kind of like, what does mentorship look like under you? Like, if you were to receive a new mentor, like, do you like craft like an elaborate program, or is it more so like just sitting with them and giving them tips?
For me,
Oh, I was
oh,
asking Sean.
okay.
Then
Me.
yeah.
It's different. I Everyone has a different learning style. I know,
Mhm.
like I was listening to Terrence, and I'm thinking
Yeah.
to myself, I'm like, I'm the kind of my learning style is I'm hands on. Like I can't read and learn. I have to just do it. But
Mhm.
if it's a topic I don't know yet, someone has to give me a few answers first, just so I kind of know where a
Mhm.
starting point is, and I'll run with it. And so everybody's different. Some people want the answers. Some people they just don't want to do the hard work. Um,
Mhm.
our friend, Raymond Gann, over that you'll see on
Yeah.
LinkedIn all the time, he once said, and it stuck with me, that software engineering is hard, and it's not meant for everybody. And I
Yeah.
think that I take the approach that when I left Experian, I left because I interviewed hundreds of people for senior developer or software architect roles,
Mhm.
and I would say about 19 out of 21, wouldn't. It's like, their experience hasn't prepared them for what it's like to work here or on my
Mhm.
team. And I'm not that demanding. It's just there's a lot going on. And so I left with a mission to produce the people I would hire. So when I mentor people, I hold them to the same standards if they're on my team. But at the same time, I don't like, I'm cool about it. They're learning, and so I don't think I craft a program, but I point them in directions to kind of simulate what it would be like if you were on a project and building something in a marketplace. It just random things come up. On the one hand, you might be. I'm a back end person,
Okay.
so I can't give good analogies for the front end. But it would be like, if you're designing a screen or something, and then before you know it, somebody's asking you to go create a new framework because there's some limitation that isn't addressed in the
Mhm.
marketplace. It's like, whoa, where did that come from? Was that falling
Right.
on me? So I do stuff like that because I want people to constantly be outside of their comfort zone. That's where the learning is.
Right. So yeah, Terrence, I know you've been more in a leadership position. How have you been kind of grooming the new hires?
So initially, I kind of get a feel for what they already know, just to see
Mhm.
where their limitations are, and then I start to ask questions. I try not to say this is the way something should be. I ask questions that lead that, because it's almost like a bait, right? You put out the bait, see if they take it, see
Mhm.
if like how, like, okay, yeah, this four loop is great, and that's great, but how can we make it better? Uh, um, uh, um, and then you can kind of see the wheels start to turn in their head, and so uh, when it comes to like certain tasks or certain like let's say they had, I give somebody a task and say, okay, create this page. They come back to me with this page done. I'll run them through this code review. How can we improve this? What could you have done better?
Right.
Like is it just good immediately out the gate, or how could you have done this better? And I want to hear from them what they think that they could do better, and we start there, and then from there, I feel comfortable enough to say, okay, well, what about this as well?
Mhm.
If you think over here could be better, what about over here, or what about this here? And then that I feel gives people a better mindset of, I built it once, but how can I make it better?
Right.
And less of, that's the wrong way to do it and here's the right way to do it, because then you don't, I feel like saying things in black and white of this is right and this is wrong doesn't, there's no growth in between those
Mhm.
periods. It's like you're not incrementally getting better, you're just saying right and wrong, don't do this, and
Mhm.
there's no growth, there's no answers to the questions, I guess you could say, like
Yeah.
piggybacking off what Sean was saying, there's no answers to the questions.
So I know like sometimes like when you're mentoring or trying to get people up to par, people they may not always be that receptive to criticism. Like how do y'all handle that? Like you have somebody that's kind of sensitive and you try to help them and they get mad or something.
Yeah, I so I'm a CTO at my company, and so I kind of oversee all of the all of the teams, and I would say software engineers in general, because of imposter syndrome, I have to be so careful how I say things to not, somebody might feel like there's a criticism or they're not good enough, and then they take it to heart. Whereas my DevOps and my product people and my data engineers, my data scientists, and like they don't have those kinds of. It just I've had something with every dev, so I have to be super careful, and I've
Mhm.
had to learn to give people space to learn and fail. Just I just have to know as a leader at the company how much failure I'll let them have. But that seems to be a good approach because people experiment and things go wrong, but they usually trend towards right. It's just mentally, it's like that's not what I would do.
Right.
So I have to overcome that. I was listening to Terrence, and I actually have like it's interesting what you said because I feel like I had a different kind of extreme that also wasn't good when I first
Mhm.
started out. I didn't do a lot of, this is good, this is bad, or having to go through that. But having been in the industry for decades, I've learned what to avoid when building
Yeah.
software, right? And
Mhm.
so I crafted the projects to kind of eliminate a lot of the failures, the problems. So for the first couple of years, everything went right, but it was so boring. Everybody's like, "Is this it? Is that like?" I literally had to just pull myself out and just let it go to chaos to get all of the learning and the team to jive together and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about
There's
you,
a
Terrence?
saying. There's a saying. Just to piggyback of what Sean was saying. Is like there's no without struggle, there's no progress,
Yeah.
right? And
No.
so that's really when you start to camaraderie with your comrades, I guess you could say, right?
Mhm.
It's like, okay, I'm stuck. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like earlier today, like I was in a stand up and this guy was having issues with like some styling or whatever. And I was like, yeah, let's just do a quick little huddle like when we get off the call. And then Like I knew exactly what the problem was, and then beep boop bop, boom, you're good to go. He's like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. It's like, oh, great, there you go. Like perfect start to a day. You're learning something. I'm sharing,
Yeah.
what I know, and I feel like that's really where like when you can feel comfortable coming to your coworkers or your partners like on a project or something. I feel like that's where that's what I'm looking for. Like the experience really like sinks in because you can struggle with a problem, but if you don't have like I could hit the wall like over and over again, and then eventually the answer will reveal itself. But
Yeah.
I don't have that connection. All I know is that I hit the wall 100 times, and then on 101 time, I got the answer. Well, what was the answer? I don't know, but there's the answer. Don't touch the code. Like,
Mhm.
but if you go through the experience with somebody, pair program, and you try a bunch of different things, okay, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work. But then at the end, this is what worked, and you can explain that. And I think that's that's the cherry on top when you can not only provide a solution but explain the solution as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My DevOps person and I used to talk like what you just said, pretty much the same thing. We'd be troubleshooting something, and our Google would be in overdrive, and we'd see this article, and it's like this makes no sense. So we'd go through like 10 others that also didn't like have the answer. But through those 10, we kind of learned how to zero in on how to express what we're looking for. And we'd get back to that first one and it would be the answer. But we just didn't see it the first time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like being in leadership, you also get really busy. So how do you guys kind of make time for when your people need help? Like, hey, I need an hour of your time.
I think for me, um, I normally drop what I'm doing. So as the leader, I have I can't have the same kind of don't distract me attitude because that'll set into the team culture. So instead, what I do if somebody needs my help, unless there's some reason I can't, I'll drop what I'm doing and I'll help them. But if like I'm in a meeting or something, I'll just get back to them. So I pretty much prioritize like if they need something, then it's my immediate priority as soon as I can get to it, which is very often immediately. Um, they don't operate that way overall. They have their flows and they like to bucket their time and kind of, we have a flexible schedule. So like sometimes, they'll just go walk their dog or whatever. But as for me, I try to just be super chill. They need me, I'm there. And I don't really complain about like if everybody hits me at once, I just play it off because my attitude becomes the entire company's culture. I learned that so early. And that was actually what killed my imposter syndrome. You have a leader that has imposter syndrome, you're going to have a team that doesn't believe in themselves.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really important. Like a lot of people don't realize the leader, they kind of his attitude or her attitude reflects on their team, like starts rubbing off. So how do you like maintain that positive attitude when things are going crazy?
I've been through some stuff in life, like in terms of pressure at work and stuff. So it's relatively easier for me now to just understand because I don't know, Terrence might be able to relate with this. As you get into leadership, and certainly the higher in leadership you get exposed to a completely different set of problems. Like, it's like if we don't do this, the company can shut down. If we don't do that, we could lose millions of dollars in revenue. If we don't do this, we're not competitive. If we do this, we could get sued. So I think like the attitude just comes from understand, like it's a problem to solve like any other. You don't have to have a bad attitude. The way I do it is I just like there's no magic words I can give anybody. It's just, it's highly individualistic. Everybody's probably got a different approach. But mine basically is just to shrug it off and not let it, I focus on what has to be accomplished, and that's pretty much that.
So Terrence, like I know you've been getting more into the managerial side of things. How have you made that transition going from like a primarily coding to more so like delegating tasks, and like what attitude is important to have to, keep other, the people under you from jumping off a bridge?
Really understanding each teammate's skill set and understanding if they can handle that task. And even if I'm hesitant on giving on delegating a task to one of my teammates, I ask them, "Do you think you can handle this?" And I don't really grade it like on a scale of 1 to 10, but it's really just to say to gauge if that person is able to handle the task that I'm about to give them. And I say, "Hey, look over this. If you have any questions, like, ask me. Feel free to ask." Like, I try to keep that I don't really like labels. Like, I don't see myself as a manager. Like, I'm a person first and foremost. Again, companies and things like that will give you titles, but I prefer not to look at it like that. I'm a person, you're a person. This task is at hand. We need to accomplish this task. That's it. And so I believe that, like, to keep that communication open always. Like, talk to me about anything, music, sports, how's your day going, to keep that communication feeling free and open, I guess you could say. Because if things come up, they're going to come up. And I don't want that person to be like, "Oh, I'm bothering this person. I'm taking this person's time." Like, if things happen or you get stuck, feel free to message me and say, "Hey, I'm stuck." And I'll stop what I'm doing, like Sean was saying. Like, sometimes you got to stop what you're doing and open up a huddle and see what the problem is, or try to come up with a solution. So, it really just comes down to, like, just giving up those tasks that you want to do. Like, "Oh, that sounds fun. That'd be cool." But, I can't do it because I'm busy with something else. And then 2, also knowing that the person that I'm giving the task to is capable of doing it. And then 3, just keeping that communication open and friendly. And lighthearted, I think, because even if something is like super stressful, you don't want. It's so easy to just like text somebody and say, "Okay, what is it?" And like that interpretation can be completely different on the other end. Like, "Oh man, I'm bothering this person." I try to keep it lighthearted and not come off as like this person's bothering me.
Right.
I have a question, Terrence.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel sometimes that I know this happens to me sometimes. I was wondering, do you ever feel sometimes that, like, you could, like, if the task was on your plate, you could do it better, you could do it faster, but it's on your team's plate, so you just kind of have to let the team be the team?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, I have the mindset of, like, as soon as I hear a problem, and like my team leader can vouch for this. He's like, as soon as as the problem is being described to me, I'll just do something like this, okay? And I'm trying to come up with a solution as he's describing the problem. And I've learned to sort of pause myself in doing that, because, like, stand-ups aren't meant for solving the problem. They're just meant to announce and say, "Hey, this is what we're working on for the day." And so, to get back to what you were saying, there's definitely times when I'm like, "Man, I could totally just like knock this out really quickly," but I think that comes from, I've been exposed to a problem similar to that. I know the steps that are going to be required to solve, and I know edge cases to try and solve for. But if I give it to somebody else, I want to see how they handle it. Okay, I know how to solve it, but how are they going to handle it? What edge cases are they going to come up with? How are they going to think things through? Are they going to think of the edge cases that I'm thinking of? But there's so much chaos that by giving it to them would allow me to have. You know what I mean? So it's way more fun just give it to somebody else and see how they do.
I think you gotta kind of pull back on your ego and realize that your way isn't the only way to do it, and kind of let them, there's multiple ways to skin the cat, so let them put their solution in, and maybe you could give them suggestions if you see ways they can improve it, but don't try to like mold them into a mini version of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm actually still learning on that one. I do have a tendency to try to mold them into mini versions of me, but I take the approach of I'll be involved only to a point, but like I want them to have learning experience. For me, it's just making sure it goes in a certain direction, but making it not feel like micromanagement. I feel like that could be a lifetime journey.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
like, Terrence, I know you mentioned like you like to make things like personal crack jokes and things of that. But how do
Yeah.
you avoid going too far to where they're not taking you serious? You know what I mean?
Or you have to be firm. You have to.
Mm,
There has to be a certain. There has to be a time when you're just serious, not like ultra serious, but just like if it's stand up, it's stand up. Like
yeah.
uh, if it's hey, how's it going? How's your day going? Like that vibe is different than like okay, 9:15 a.m. Here's stand up. Here's our tasks. How's this going? Boom, 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 boom. Get in and get out. Like it's definitely a learning process. Like leadership, mentorship, like all of those titles come with like learning and growth,
Mm,
and also everybody's different, right? Like some developers or not even developers, some people can take harsh criticism like and not take it personally. um I won't lie, like my first couple of weeks as a developer, criticism was just like straight to the heart, like oh my gosh, like am I cut out for this? Oh wow, that hurt. But like over
mm,
time you just sort of build up this, like you get this tough skin and you realize it's not you, like it's just
mm,
that you could be better. Like I had somebody that pushed me and pushed me and pushed me, and I was like, man, why are you pushing me so hard? Like I'm about to push back. And
yeah.
like he's like, I see potential in you, and
Mm,
I want to see that I want to see that blossom. And so that's the whole
yeah.
reason why I'm pushing you. And so I think you have to understand the person that you're working with, like their mentality, how they respond to certain things, and like Sean was saying, that will give you the answers to guide that person down the path that you want them to be. There are going to be
Mm,
many versions of you at the end, but there's going to be a twist to it. It's going to be their own. They're going to put their own spin on it. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing as a leader is realizing that they're going to be better than you are.
mm,
They're
Yeah.
practicing it, they're doing it, they're padding their resume with everything they're doing. As a leader, we're padding our resume also, just in a different. We're saying stuff like grew the team to 30 people, increase
Yeah.
this, but they're saying I did this with React, I did that with Apache Spark
mm,
and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But as a leader, like the whole, like for me, the end goal is where I don't have to code, but I'm still getting everything done as if it were. I mean, I don't know if this is the right words, not like as if it were me, but like it's still my vision, it's still my direction, but everybody else, like command and conquer, you do this, you bomb that, you blow that up,
Hmm.
that kind
mm,
of thing. I actually feel a greater sense of accomplishment when the team does it and I didn't have to participate in it
mm.
directly.
Yeah.
That's definitely leadership right there, where you can step back and let your team handle things. So like sometimes I know like you don't want to micromanage like you mentioned, but how do you avoid being so laid back to where people are just doing anything, like they're just taking hours off in the middle of the day and things of that nature.
In my company culture, it's okay to take hours off in the middle of the day in that nature. I actually don't care whether they work 1 hour. And I try to make sure they're not working more than 40. Sometimes they'll tell me they're going to work the weekend. They'll say, no, you're not. But that also feels like micromanagement. I've had to pull back. If they want to do it, do it. I just don't encourage it.
Mm-hmm.
And I let them know it's not expected. The problem will still be there on Monday. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah.
But that goes into, I don't know if I sent you, did I send you on my LinkedIn? I just posted it. I saw a Twitter discussion about how managers, so somebody did a study and asked a few hundred managers and developers, the same question, what does productivity mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you think it means to your manager? And the results of it was that developers thought productivity meant the number of Jira tickets, but
Mm-hmm.
managers didn't actually even care so much about the Jira tickets. It was the results. You get the results in one ticket, no tickets are 100. The result is the result.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so that kind of plays in here is I don't care what people's hours are. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, are we making forward progress? The only thing is to keep that kind of a culture where hours absolutely, truly do not matter as much. Is I have to make sure their workload doesn't prevent them from being able to enjoy that flexibility.
Okay, yeah. So like Terrence, with you, like how do you bridge the gap between what you expect and what the developers might think is progress?
I focus on deep work. Like I focus on really honing in on if there's a problem, like let's say there's a ticket and there's a issue with the developers running in that, like let's say stand up happens. What's your blocker? This is my blocker. I know the problem that they're having for that day. If they get it done in 3 hours or an hour, great. That's progress. Like I don't expect you to really like get stuck in this rabbit hole for 8 hours and not come up for air, like because at that point you're just stuck and you need to know how to take time away, like pull back, like don't like before you even like step into that rabbit hole and get like caught up in it, take a step back. Like I'm like I've recently started learning about like meditation and practicing meditation, and like that has changed my perspective when it comes to problems and really forcing myself to try and just get it done and get it out there, because I feel like when it comes to I'm sorry, I'm heading into tangent. I'm heading into tangent levels, and I'm trying to stop myself. I have a really bad habit of just going on old man rants.
Mm-hmm.
To What was the original question? I just want to answer the original question.
Okay. So say like you as a manager, you have
Sure.
this is we want this is the goal here. And
Yeah.
developers, they think this is progress. How do you keep
Yeah.
their idea of progress in alignment of like with the actual goal?
Just I try to get them to focus on the brute forcing the solution, right? Like don't look at the entire mountain as like, oh, they have to get all this done.
Mm-hmm.
Just focus on that small thing. If it's Monday and the task is due Friday, and you look at like, oh, I can get this whole thing done by Tuesday. No, because it's gonna not be great. There's other words I want to say, but it's gonna not be great, right? It's like, okay, just if it's due Friday, there's no reason to rush. Just focus
Mm-hmm.
on getting one little thing out and really getting that small part really polished and good, and then have that committed by Monday. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you can break that up into micro steps, and Monday it's this, Tuesday it's this, Wednesday it's this, and by Friday it's this immaculate thing, and you've gotten to the top of the mountain and you've cleared your ticket. Perfect, great. But to think of something as if you have to rush and get it out there ASAP is the wrong mentality.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to if I notice that, I try to dismantle it like immediately. Like, hey, you don't have to get this done immediately. Hey, this isn't due until Friday. There's no reason to rush this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you ever find your team? Some people struggle with that concept. Like I know on my team, some people sometimes have had the feeling that if it wasn't fully completed, then it's not high quality, and they feel embarrassed to put it out. So
Right.
breaking it into steps is actually a struggle for them because they see it as under quality instead of like a step towards the right direction. Do you ever encounter that?
Um, I haven't encountered it with a team, but personally, I've encountered it where I think it's got to be like, as the manager, I have to immaculate code, just one shot. It's just magic bullet. It does it does exactly what it does. All edge cases solved, 100% on lead code. I'm optimal all the time. But in reality, like, I'm a person. I'm gonna make mistakes, and I think like giving myself that leeway of it's not going to be perfect. There's no magic bullet. And shrugging off imposter syndrome of having like, oh, I'm a manager. I need to have this immaculate first try. I I think like ideally, if I was to notice somebody try to solve it in that way, I try to dismantle it immediately and get it into their head like it's okay to take those baby steps up to the point, because you're going to notice those edge cases that you wouldn't notice if you just rush and try to get it out there.
Yeah. I think like, you know, for me it's kind of like just let's get, does it work? You know what I mean? Like focus on getting it working, and then we can, you know, we can refine it later. You're never gonna be perfect on the first iteration. So
what's that
you know,
saying? Make it work, make it fast, make it beautiful.
right.
Step 1, step 2, step 3.
Yep, that's really good. Yeah.
So like, you know, when y'all are under like intense time constraints, how do you keep like people from jumping off the bridge? Like how do you keep them focused and you know, they might have that desire to want to commit the perfect code, but time doesn't allow it. So how do you shift their mind to just like get something done?
I would say man, like I've never met personally. I haven't met somebody that tries to make like the perfect code. Like
Yeah.
I understand that some people try to one up other people, like, oh, you can do this and you can do that, and this is better and that's better. But if I ever encountered that, I would say like I would try to understand why that person thinks that way. Like what is it that makes you think that it has to be perfect? And to continue asking why. Because eventually when you ask why enough times, you really get down to that seed of the root cause, right? Like when I meditate, I'm asking, okay, I'm reflecting over my day and how I feel about certain situations that I've experienced throughout the day, but I'm asking why. And I continue asking why. And yes, it's really annoying to ask yourself like why? But then eventually you get to a point where you hit that root cause, and then you come to terms with it. And I feel like again, everybody's different, but when you start asking why, and you start to get those wheels turning in their head, I think when you get those wheels turning, it helps them grow as a person, and not just as a developer, but really asking like, okay, why do I think this has to be perfect? The first jump out. Why do I feel like, you know, I have to get this done so fast? Why can't I take a break? Why can't I pump the brakes? Why can't I calm down? Why can't I just breathe? And then that's the seed of growth. Ideally, as a manager, I want to see you grow. I don't care how many tickets you get through, how much you rush to get things done. If you're not growing, if you're constantly stumbling over things, and I'm constantly pointing out things, you're not growing. You're just rushing.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. I want growth, for you, because I've already gotten to a position where I can start teaching people. Like, I want you to best me, and the only way to best me is to grow. So,
Right.
yeah.
But
I've had someone like that once. They had a background. They worked at an aerospace company doing software for airplanes. So, you know, their mindset for it has to be perfect actually came out of that background. And it, you know, when you do that for so long, it's a hard thing to change. As the best thing you could do in that particular case, if it's truly just that's their background, right? Just work with them, give them space, spend time with them and stuff. But you can't really change somebody if it's that. Like I came from, speaking personally, I came from a corporate background for like 18 years of corporate software engineering. And when I was in my first startup, I mean, I was stressing them out. Like my first day on the job, it's like, where's my security? Where's this? I'm asking all these questions because, you know, corporations, you know, they dot all their I's and cross all their T's. But in a startup, it's like none of that even matters. And so I think that in that particular case, it's a little off. It's a little bit of a tangent from your work, from you know, from where the topic was. But in that particular case, you know, I work in a startup.
Yeah.
I've had to learn how to identify people that were amazing in a highly structured environment where other people did different roles and responsibilities. but here it falls on them. And no one will tell you that, like, I'm not comfortable doing testing. I'm not comfortable doing deployment. I'm not comfortable doing the database. I'm mostly a front end person.
Yeah.
But you'll see it in the way that they work, and like something will be off. And so, in that particular case, like, I just have to be supportive, and like what Terrence said, have this conversation, ask those questions, give people space. But at the end of the day, never thought I'd be saying this one on camera, but not everyone is cut out to be at a startup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I got a question about that. Because like as a somebody who struggled to get into their first gig, and a startup actually took me in, and I'm still here. Yeah. How would a junior or an entry level engineer, somebody who has no experience, right? How would they be cut out? How would you prepare to get cut out to join a startup, right? Because the environment can be very hectic. There's a lot of hats to wear. Like, how do you prepare for that? How would you prepare somebody for that?
I think before I answer that question, let me get some background. I think it's important to recognize people who have worked for some time in a non-startup are going to approach their startup experience very differently than someone's first time on the job at a startup. I think what people have grown accustomed to plays a role, and then it's all of a sudden different. And so from that perspective, I have a number of people that work for me that is actually their first job, and as like a DevOps or in the database or as a software developer. And I could say that their experience growing into being a high performer in a startup, or even just the learning of getting experience, and even if they're not a high performer, they still do well, right? I mean, high performer, I guess we could, it might mean different things to different people, but I mean, they don't struggle too much, and they grow, and they keep on making progress in their experience. They have less problems in a startup than somebody who, say, might have had 3 or 4 years in a very highly structured environment. So with that being said, if the question is how would you prepare someone to work in a startup, I would say fundamentally what sets a startup, what separates a startup from like a corporation or a structured environment is how much of the work is that person going to be doing? Are you going to be deploying? Are you going to be taking the feature from ideation to completion? In a startup, it's more likely you're going to be that deeply involved. And then as the company gets bigger, you'll become less involved, and different people will fulfill those roles.
So, like you mentioned earlier, there's like certain industries where you have to be pretty much perfect or else people could die. So like working on software for cars, airplanes, etc. So like, when you have like those intense time constraints, but your software has to be perfect, like how do you make cuts? How do you push back against management who wants it done now?
I would say, man, that's a tough industry, because you are taking, like, I can see how, like, if I wrote software for medicine, right, that's extremely serious. Like that is like it's literally life or death. And I think like the developers that work on those type of like that software, that niche, it you have to love what you do. You have to really love that field, because you're going to be in it, right? You're going to be writing software for that type of stuff. If you love electric cars and you want to write software for Tesla, you have to love it, because there's going to be time constraints. There's going to be crunch, but you have to, it's almost like getting a runner's high. Like you have to enjoy it to the point where, like, even if you have to work 60 hours a week to get it out because they have a deadline by their investors want the software out by 2023 of winter, you got to love it. Same thing with video game development, right? We hear so much stuff goes on in Blizzard and all these other companies and Sony and stuff, but like even I heard like Hideo Kojima is like the worst to work for because he, on camera he seems like a nice guy, and then behind closed doors, he wants his product. His baby is Metal Gear Solid, and if Metal Gear Solid isn't perfect, he doesn't want it out there. It doesn't matter how much the budget is, right? They work those people like crazy, but you have to love it. And I think that's the difference of like somebody who just wants a job versus somebody who's passionate about it, right? That's the separating factor. Like you have to just enjoy that field and really just be willing to put up with whatever comes your way.
I think some of it is being comfortable with your ability also, like knowing what you're capable of and knowing what you're not capable of and playing that into your results in the way you approach your day-to-day.
Yeah.
So like, how would y'all oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just like wondering, like, how would y'all identify these like passionate people? Like, what would you do to incentivize them to come join your team?
I could speak for myself. From my experience on this one, they're very easy to identify. They kind of announce themselves.
Yeah, you can feel when somebody's passionate about something. They're not just like, "Hi, my name is Terrence, and I'm a software engineer, and I do this." Like, they're not very monotone. Like, you got to be able to feel like it's almost like you have to feel a vibe or a connection, like a spark. Like there has to be some sort of life, like a pulse. I'm not saying you got to come in with streamers and balloons and poppers and stuff, but there's got to be like some type of, are you excited about what you do? Do you enjoy what you do? Because I've met people that are just very much like, yeah, I'm a front-end engineer and I went to there and I did this and I did that. You can show me that you did the bare minimum, but what made you take the extra step? What are you genuinely interested in? React? Are you genuinely interested in TypeScript? Why are you interested in these things? Like you could stick to just jQuery and do that all day, but what makes you want to do GraphQL and TypeScript and this and that? Like why?
Right.
And let me hear your story. And I think a lot of people, even like thinking back right now, at UCLA, they just want it just because of the money. They just want it because of this one simple thing. And I'm like, that's gonna be so, like that's so surface level that there's nothing that makes you stand out. To me, I wouldn't. Nothing makes you unique to the peers that are around you. But what's gonna make you stand out?
It makes it feel like a risk. Like maybe if I had more time to talk with this person, maybe, but yeah, it makes it feel like a risk. Like, man, is this going to enhance the team, or are they just a shy person?
Yeah.
Are they just going through something in life? Are they going to enhance the team? I don't know, Terrence, if you've like how you approach your interviewing, but one thing that I do in these situations, and even for my more senior people, when I interview them, is I'll find a weakness inside of like just hypothetical. Let's just say you ask a question about SQL Server.
Yeah.
And they're not that strong on it, right? So what I would do is let them know that, we're going to bring you back and we're going to talk more about database and SQL Server and give them enough information and that when you bring them back, check for the progress on it.
Yeah.
Very often, some of those people that weren't that motivated the first time, the second time, they're so excited. They're talking about SQL Server or whatever that topic is that we've identified. Yeah. But others, they've made no progress at all. And, I won't entertain those ones. The people that make progress, I could work with that if they make progress.
Yeah. I do something similar. We don't really do like rounds on rounds on rounds of interviews. It's more of a vibe check from the jump, and then if we feel something, we'll proceed. But if not, we'll let it go. I do something similar where I'll ask questions, but again, it's mostly just bait, and I want to see the extent of your knowledge. How far are you going to say that you know something? Like when are you going to say that you don't know something? I want to know the extent. Like when are you going to say I don't know this? Because I look for humility, right? Like anybody, like I firmly believe that anybody can go on W3 schools or Udemy or whatever and pick up a course and learn something. It's not hard. But when are you going to be able to say, I don't know this? Because if you can admit that, then I know if you ever come on, if I bring you on my team and you run into a problem, I don't know this, you won't dig yourself in a hole trying to figure it out. You'll come to me and ask. And that's what I'm looking for. Because that's a sign of growth. That's a sign of, hey, I don't know this. I need help. And that means a lot more to me than any credential or SQL server or whatever on your resume.
Yeah, I think it's important to be honest. Like, with the recent job offer I got, they had like me interview with the back end guy, and I pretty much bombed that one. But at least I let them know, hey, this isn't my forte. This isn't really my specialty. So I think sometimes, like when you're just straight up and honest, and you say, hey, this isn't my cup of tea, they can respect that. It's better doing that than making stuff up, looking like you know something, because
Yeah,
I guess
definitely.
it gives off the attitude that you realize your limitations. Like, did you ever find like people that don't realize their limitations, can they be dangerous to a company?
Yep.
The answer is yes, but
Yes.
but it's not a talking point because I don't have direct experience with it.
Yeah. Do I have? I would say there was a. Okay, I do have something. It's not like I brought this person on. There was definitely a time when I interviewed with somebody, and their demo was just something very shallow. It was like, oh yeah, look, I did this, and the domain redirected to the subdomain, and I'm like, that's great, but like, what else did you do? And he couldn't really give me anything, but his resume was packed to the brim with all this tech and all of these buzzwords. I'm expecting something grand and like just something amazing. Like on paper, he sounds great, but then in person, it's like, no, I'm not feeling that. And so I think, if I was to like proceed with a person like that, regardless of how many buzzwords you have, if I bring you on and you think that you can cut it, I know this. I just need a shot. And if I give you an SQL task and you dump a table, right? You just say, okay, I drop the table, and now we have to, put out a fire. It's a problem. It's a liability. Like Sean was saying, like is this guy a risk or not? So you have to have that emotional intelligence to be like, is this guy worth the risk?
What about a scenario? So this happened to me recently. We're changing over our infrastructure and doing something different with monitoring and stuff. And I wanted a particular solution because I know it would work. I knew the tool, that kind of thing, and I didn't want to spend too much time otherwise. But my team came to me, the ones that would be involved in implementing it. They're like, Sean, I know you want to do this. I know that you like that tool. I know that it'll solve whatever it is. But we don't like it. We want to gain the experience. We want to do it different. We want to use different tools. We just basically everything that you think you want about it, we just don't agree, and we want to take it our way and learn through it. And this is a super critical thing for the company for some of the directions we're going. In that particular case, I had a team where they know, like, they just don't know at all. Like, but they're saying, I want the experience and I want to do it. I had to sit on that one for a while, but I came to the conclusion that if it was important enough for them to approach me that way, then I gave them the green light.
Yeah, that's pretty difficult as a leader to kind of go in a different direction than what you want when your team feels
the
like
end result would have been the same eventually, but they had never done that before either. And I honestly felt like, this is probably one of the quintessential leadership moments, and I don't want to squander this one away. But yeah, that's so, like, on the one hand, you have people trying to come into the company that are like, they don't know their limits, and but you can detect that during the interview. But on the other hand, sometimes when they're on the team and they do know what their limits are, but they want to overcome them. You know, it's a leadership decision. Like, is this acceptable or not?
Yeah.
So like you mentioned, I know sometimes people want to work with certain technologies, whereas you have a solution that's better, but it's not really common in the marketplace. So is that kind of like where you went with that one? Like your solution was better, but they kind of wanted to work with something that's more common in the industry, so as be able to put that on their resume and get traction.
Yeah, I would say my solution might not have been better. It was just the one that I knew.
Okay.
Um, and in their case, they were familiar with different tools. Like I wanted to use one tool that did log searching and that did network monitoring and that did application tracing, all these three different things in one tool. But they wanted to do it with three different tools. And I'm like, man, like I've been there before, right?
Mm.
I really want to be there? But um, at the end of the day, I've every manager I've ever worked for across my career, no one ever stopped me. Even when I did things that you could look back and say, man, that was a mistake. What did I greenlight that one for? And I don't want to be the person that does that to them. Like it's not going to kill the company if they go a different direction. So I
Right.
would say in my case, I try not to use the words better solution. At least in this case, it was the one that I knew, right?
Okay. What about you, Terrence? Like, have you ever had like how do you make your team members feel like they belong, like their opinions, their thoughts matter, as opposed to nah, I like this, I'm going with this. Like, how do you avoid falling into that mindset?
Hearing them out. I feel like a lot of people just at the base of it, they want to be heard, right? And I think that's just a human trait, right? Because like for me growing up, like I felt like I wasn't heard, and so I try not to shut other people down, and just say, do this, get it done. I don't care about what you have to say. And so again, I leave that door open of communication and giving them the access to like ask questions and to speak up and to have an opinion. Like, hey, this is the task. I have an idea of what might be done, but what do you think? And then just hear them out. Okay, they're thinking about this, and they're doing this, they're doing that. Okay, cool, and I'm following along. But then, as a chess player, like you have to think like 10 steps ahead or whatever. Okay, I'm thinking about this edge case. Are they thinking about this edge case? And then as we hash it out, we'll just kind of just go over those problems and stuff, and eventually get to a point where we have a solid plan. And the plan is a mixture of is mostly their plan, because I want them to feel like they've come up with the solution, which ideally they have, but it's just I'll come behind and just sprinkle on things on top and say, okay, don't forget this, don't forget that, don't forget this, don't forget that. And then ultimately they have a blueprint, and then they can go out and come up with the solution. And I feel like that helps a lot.
So like, sometimes people are kind of shy or they're not the most social. How do you make them feel involved? Because naturally they're not going to include themselves in the conversations.
Yeah. You gotta pull people out. You gotta, when you see that, when you notice that shy person, like if I'm in a group of 8 people, right, and somebody else joins a group conversation or whatever, hey Danny, how's it going? What's up, bro? How's your day going? And that for me personally, I used to be very shy and introverted. And when somebody would pull me into the conversation, it's almost like it prevented me from immediately entering that shell that I'm used to, just being in my own headspace. And I feel like doing something similar to that extent of like greeting the person if they enter the conversation, or if they haven't said anything in a while, sort of pinging them for ideas, like, hey, what do you think about this? And hearing what they have to say, because then it's not just 2 people having a conversation, but like, hey, Sean, what do you think about this? Like, like you're pulling in people that might have it might be a one-on-one conversation, but then it's 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 or 4-on-1, etc.
How about you, Sean? Pretty similar, or you have any unique observations on that?
I think I'm kind of the same with Terrence right here.
Okay, yeah. I think it's really important to get people involved. But when people
Yeah.
start feeling isolated, that's when they kind of go off the deep end. So
Yeah.
I think it's important
Uh,
to do like a
yeah,
health check.
I'm pretty good at involving people.
Mm,
But also uh, talking with people.
mm,
Sometimes something's going on in their life behind the scenes. Other times they're just
mm.
shy. Um, I let shy people be shy, but I do try to give them opportunities to not have their voices over drowned by other people who might be more vocal.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
like how do you like prevent like this one person who's like ultra loud from constantly taking over the conversation?
Well, in my company, that would be me. I have a really cool team. Like no one actually does that, but as the
Mm.
CTO, no one tells me, to shut up either.
Yeah.
Um, but I could tell you how I would if it was somebody on the team and that happened.
Mm.
I would just have a talk with them behind the scenes, and I would
Mm.
try to work it out through diplomacy. But definitely, nothing would, uh, nothing, no conversation, nothing would happen in front of the team that might make them feel
Yeah.
embarrassed or something.
Yeah.
You're
I would.
thinking about it, Terrence?
No, I'm in a similar boat. Like I've never been in
Mm.
a situation where somebody tried to overtake a conversation or try to be the life of the party, I guess you could say. But definitely having those one-on-ones. I feel like in general, regardless of if it's a good situation or a bad situation, really having those one-on-one time with other developers and
Mm.
other people and breaking things down and be like, hey, like how's it going? How are you like mentally right now? Like are you good? Are you bad? What's your like how's life? Like a lot of people would ask me, how's life? And I'd be like, what? It's like, but to have that door open to me, it's like, okay, they want to hear about more than just, oh, I solved this ticket, I did this, I did that, and having that door open like really makes a deeper connection. You form a deeper connection with your teammates instead of
Yeah.
just like, yeah, it's a guy that I work with in LA, and it's another guy that I work with in India. You know, um, I feel like you make that human connection, and it's more personal. Like working with that person becomes easier than just we're coworkers. I feel like that's really important when it comes to like remote work, especially like
Yeah.
trying to make that connection, regardless, like if it's video games or movies or music or whatever, like having some type of connection, um,
Mm.
versus just like, yeah, I work for a company. I've never met these people, but we do stand up at 9 a.m. every morning, and they seem to have a connection, but I don't have a connection with them. You
Right.
know? Yeah.
So like, did y'all ever find it like, okay, you kind of want to get close to your team members, but do you ever feel like you don't want to get too close in case, like how the economy is right now, then it might be layoffs needed. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to lay the guy off that you know all about his life. He's cool with you. Like, how do you even handle that?
It's just business. Like I'm not
Relate.
doing it personally. Like I've thought about this again and again and again. If it ever came to it and I know I had to pull the trigger on a situation like that, I'm not doing it personally, right?
Mm.
Like it's just times are hard, right? And it's not like we're the only company that's going through it, right?
Yeah.
You go on LinkedIn, you look at all these other companies that are like, oh, mass layoffs, hiring freezing,
Yeah.
resigning offers from like, oh, hey, here's your offer letter. You've already put in your 2 weeks notice at your current company. Oh, we have to resign the offer. Unexpected things happen, and
Yeah.
so you know, I don't. I feel embarrassed for those companies that have to do those type of things, like resigning offers and stuff. But
Mm.
it's just the way things. It's just the times, and you know I don't feel bad getting close to that person because it made working with them a lot easier. And I know that if they ever came to me and they said, "Hey, I need a recommendation," there's no
Yeah.
hesitation because I've worked with them and I understand them as a person and not just a worker.
Mm.
I've gotten close with some team members at at a friendship level, but to be honest with you, I feel like in the future it's better I draw boundaries and draw lines.
Mm.
It for various different reasons. I've had to fire people. I haven't had to lay people off before, but I think if I had to, like, I don't think it would be easy for me. Like I don't
Yeah.
honestly know how I would handle it. I know how I handle firing people. It's easy when you don't want them there, but when you don't want them to go, it's a completely different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like me, I would kind of if I knew it was coming, I would probably pull them to the side and say, "Hey, man, the company they're about to make some cuts, so you got to prepare yourself. So, just start interviewing now, and I'll give you a recommendation. I'll reach out to some recruiters I know and see if they can, you know, take you on. You know what I mean? Kind of like assist them in potentially moving on to another company if needs be."
Yeah.
But if you got to lay off a lot of people, that might not be possible though. So
That's rough.
you
Yeah.
might just have to do the better.com thing, just Zoom meeting.
Yeah. That's tough.
Honestly, I think it would be easier if it was more people because then it gets hidden behind
Yeah.
a one-sided conversation or an email. But I think layoffs are best done in person
Yeah.
because the person on the other end, they're going to be feeling like their whole world is coming down,
Right.
and you can't. And sometimes, you can't say it's not because of you, it's because of like sometimes for corporate policy, you got to just be an
Oh,
automaton and heartless. It's just like Terrence has his business.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I put my heart into everything, so I think I would be affected if I had to deliver that kind of news.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
It's
kind of
tough.
like, I know a lot of y'all watching the show, y'all might want to jump into leadership, but that's something you need to think about before you you come up here because your decisions literally affect people's lives.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to be the bad guy, even when you don't want to be the bad guy. And it's nothing personal, right? It's not like I don't want you to be here, right? Because even still, if you're a great developer or you're a great HR or PR or whatever, like you have to be replaced. And like finding somebody to replace like somebody who really understands how our the company culture and the company systems and everything else, that's difficult to find sometimes. And
Mhm.
so it's not just like again I go back to like what makes you stand out, what makes you different, because sometimes it's not about the skill set, it's not about the software, it's about the to finding that right puzzle piece that fits in correctly to
Mhm.
the situation uh, that we have. It's not about just that one thing. Or you could know Excel, you could know Microsoft Word, you could know PowerPoint or whatever. Like you could list off a bunch of stuff, but if you don't fit, you don't fit. So yeah, finding a replacement for like a unique piece is really difficult.
I was telling Kevin the other day that sometimes people come, you'll hear it on LinkedIn or wherever in conversations. People will say, I might have just gotten lucky. Like I'm successful
Mhm.
now, but I don't want to leave where I'm at because I may not do so well somewhere else.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I used to teach people, I still do, that success is actually a matter of knowing what makes you what brings out your best. So like if you're a React developer, you're not going to go somewhere where it's Angular unless that's what you want to
Mhm.
do.
Yeah.
And if you don't like working remote, you're not going to go to a place that's remote first,
Right.
and vice
Mhm.
versa, and so on. So a lot of like the people who are getting laid off, I've had people ask me like, what do I do next? It's like,
Mhm.
well, figure out what brings out your best. What did you like about where you're at? Some of it is out of your control, like the culture, but a lot of it you could make your own success if you know what it is that you're driving towards and what brings out your best. And just find a place that aligns with that, and then you'll do your best in a place that can bring it out.
Yeah. And it saves you a lot of time too. It saves you a lot of time with like applying to places. And like,
Yeah.
for me, like I reach out to the people that work there. And how do you like it there? Like, give me your feedback. Like, I'm not like trying to, get you, make a story or whatever, but I want to understand from the horse's mouth, like, how do you like it? What's your experience like?
Yeah.
And I'll gauge that. Like, do I vibe with that? Do I even want to bother applying? Because you can do the shotgun approach, but if you get someplace and it's the total opposite of what you expected, what do you do? Tough it out, or do you prefer finding someplace and really filtering, like having a filter, like some type of filter that's set up that says, okay, hey, this place looks nice, but what's it really like?
Right. But yeah, we're about at an hour and 30 minutes, so I guess it's a good note to end it on.
Yeah.
Catch you next time. Peace.